My mother told her what to say. I know she didn't drink like I did. And we clean up nice, don't we? Yeah. And so I agreed to go to a meeting with her. Well, we go to they only had in West Virginia at this time. I was 21 years old. And I walked in there with all these old people. And I thought, oh my God, what have I got myself into? I mean, there were some nice dressed ones, but a whole lot of them, you know, lived under the bridge and all that sort of stuff, and it was terrible. And I thought, I have nothing in common with these people. Look at them. Well, there were some nice dressed people too, the ones that had a little bit of sobriety, you know. And there were no women in very few women. And but I was lucky. I latched on to a bunch of them, and they all 12-stepped me. I had 6 sponsors. I could have used 6 more. But they were telling me things like, you can't be an alcoholic, you're too young. And I thought, hot damn, this is what I want to hear. Because I knew I wasn't an alcoholic, I just needed a little control. I just wanted to drink and not get into trouble. These little guys would come up to me and he'd say, I spill more whiskey than you ever drank. I said, well, if you hadn't spilled so much, maybe you'd have gotten here sooner. And that's the truth. But I had trouble with the wives. They didn't care for me. I represented all the women that their husbands cheated on with, and they were very nasty to me. I get even with them though. I had no resentments, I got even. And I'd kiss them on their old bald heads and send them home, you know. And I was so happy to be sober. I think I was sober a whole month. And I thought I had it made. So I decided, well, you know, I all the time, you know, I could sip whenever she wanted. Well, to get on with my story, they finally found a man over in another company that was in AA. He was a little Scotsman, about that tall, looked like a little leprechaun. And of course I took my bottle to go over there because it was out, you know, in the boonies, and there was no liquor store around. So I had to take my bottle to work with me. And I did. So I took my bottle in, and Mr. Beaton sat me down, and he said, Katie, this is your last chance. Believe me, it is your last chance. If you drink, they're going to fire you. Because they had, you know, just told him my life story, and he knew what he was talking about. I had the greatest urge to give that man my bottle. But I was afraid to. I was afraid I would need it, and it wouldn't be there. I knew, after I got sober, I knew that man would have given me a drink if I needed it, if I had given him the bottle. But I couldn't trust anybody that much. Well, I did get sober, and I was sober 3 months. But when I went to work there was this man that came down. He was a chemical engineer, and he came down said, I think you know my sister. I said, no, I don't. He said, yes, you do. Peggy Garrett. This was the woman that took me under her wing when I first started working. And I said, are you her big brother from New York? And yes, he was. Well, he was a field engineer, you know, and he wore the regular field engineer's clothing. But he was tall. He was 6'3". And he had sport shirts, flannel sport shirts that came about to the middle of his arm, you know. They didn't make clothes then for men, arm length and everything. What you got, you know, you either had to roll them up or scrunch up your arm. And I thought, my God, that can't be her good brother from New York. And he'd come down, he'd take me up to the cafeteria for coffee, you know, and we'd talk. But Mr. Beaton says, Katie, I'll pick you up tonight and we'll go to a meeting. And I said, okay. So we went to an open meeting and I looked all around and I spied this guy. He was had on a nice blue suit, had on a white shirt and a red striped tie. And I immediately fell in lust. But this was in about like October, and the anyhow, the Christmas, I stayed sober. I stayed sober 2 months. And Christmas came. And of course, with all the parties that I was invited to, and all my drinking buddies, you know, we had parties, and I fell off the wagon. And there I was, back in the same old place that I had thought I was safe. It was just horrible. And they did fire me. They meant it that time. So I had a savings account. You put in $1 and the company would put in $1. They'd match it. So I had a pretty nice little nest egg. I had over $600. I was flying high. Boy, I had money. I could drink as much as I wanted. My mother had thrown me out. And I went into this little residential hotel. And it was old. I mean, it was old. It had claws on the bathtubs. Remember those old claws in the bathtub? And the springs, no covering on them, you know, they were just the springs, and then the mattress went on top of that. And they were all these old iron bedsteads, you know, the top and the bottom. Well, I thought, my darn, I'll just have a good time. And it was only $15 a week. So my money was going to last a long time, I thought. And I was about 6 months, or 6 weeks drunk. And when I drank, I never ate. And I lived on the alcohol. This last drunk that I had, the 6 weeks drunk, I had everything. I had alcoholic paralysis. I had DTs. I had convulsions. And I was a mess. And there was nobody that I could call on.